Hi, welcome back to another video with DevPool. I'm DevPool and I will talk to you about why coding is difficult. So I've been in the industry for quite some time now, and through my entire career I've been already a tutor where as I was a student I'll be tutoring other students, and then now I'm a web developer and I've been web developer for quite some time now. The few things I found that are very important for a person to have even before going to programming. The first thing is you have to have an ability of solving a specific problem. The problem can be any problem really, and sometimes the solution is not straightforward. Sometimes it's not something you can just go ahead and ask your coworker. That is something you have to think for yourself and to find what is the best approach to solve it. And as you're solving it, you will have bugs to deal with. And there's another thing for you to focus on is how do you debug your own code? Because a lot of students, a lot of people in the industry today, whenever they write code, they will get an error message. Sometimes it's unclear to them what it means, or maybe they just didn't read it. But what they do is they will just copy entire message, send it to me, send it to another coworker or a tutor, whatever it might be, and they'll hope that somebody else can solve it for them. But as you read the error message, it literally tells you what file it's failing in, what line number it might be, and even if that's not the case, there's a starting point of where your code is failing. And when you'll be going on an interview, the interviewer will be asking you questions of, well, how do you debug your own code? Or let's say you do have an error message right now, or let's say something is failing. How do you find the answer? How do you debug it? How do you solve this specific problem? And you as a programmer, you do have to figure out of how do you solve this problem? Where do you start? Like, let's say if the problem right now is happening on a server, where do you go for that? Do you know? If you do have an idea, leave a comment down below. And another thing that I think is very important for programmer or for people who are going to programming is to learn how to read documentation of a specific language. And sadly, that is something that school doesn't teach you, really. I remember when I went to school, they'll just teach us, let's say, C, C++, HTML, PHP, JavaScript, but there weren't so much of documentation there. They'll teach you specific functionality, they'll teach you how this language works, but if you were to do something new by yourself right now, you actually have to figure out how to do specific things yourself. And now, if you take a school, for instance, a lot of schools don't provide programming classes, and by school I mean like a middle school or high school. They don't really teach that, or a lot of schools don't, and the number of reasons why they don't do that. But that is actually the main reason why programming is so difficult to a lot of us. And as I was teaching students how to code, I was teaching them different things like system application, web development, and two of those things, they are completely unrelated to each other. And when I was choosing what do I want to be professionally, I chose to be a web developer simply because it was easier and it was pretty much very similar pay. And the main reason I think why people fail at programming so much is because they think they need to learn everything. And by everything, I mean the C, C++, PHP, Java, JavaScript, Node.js, all those different frameworks, languages. And why? I mean, what is you trying to build really? If you're trying to build a website, well, guess what? All what you need is a Node.js, JavaScript, or PHP for the backend, up to you what you want. And that's it. Notice how we just removed all this different nonsense and we just minimized ourselves, or we're taking our focus to three specific things. Node.js, JavaScript, well, Node.js or PHP, it's one of the things that you want to use for the backend. I'll just recommend going with Node.js just because they both run JavaScript frontend and backend. And based on that, if I want to be a web developer, I already know that all what I need to know is just JavaScript. So I'm just going to start with JavaScript. I'll look into online tutorials that are out there and take a look at what I need to know, what I need to do, just to start a small website really. One more thing I'd like to mention from personal experience is that programming takes time. So if you're an outgoing person, or if you're a person who likes to spend Friday nights with a couple of friends, well, that is not going to be happening as often anymore if you want to be a good developer, because you'll find out that programming takes time, takes effort, and as you'll be working, reading something, debugging something, it may sound easy at first, it may sound something that just takes a couple of minutes. Well, in reality, it doesn't take a couple of minutes, it takes much longer than that, especially when you are learning something new. And in this case, it's not like math where you just learn a specific equation, you fill it out, the blank, and you got the right answer right from the start, or it might take you 2 to 3 tries and that's it. And suddenly it's exact same formula for the rest of your life. It's not quite similar in programming, unfortunately. We still have to debug code. Whenever you write something, it does break. And whenever you're learning something, it's not going to compile it right away. So you'll have to be willing to sacrifice a lot of your time into this, because if you don't, then you're just going to be staying behind. Whatever you'll be learning right now, even, let's say you have chosen a specific framework in JavaScript world, let's say React, and it took you like 1 year, 2 years to understand it, how it's working. Well, what just happened is that you spent 2 years, and in 2 years' time, a new framework came out that is much, much better than React. In fact, React is something that not everybody is using it anymore. You're just the only person who learned it, and now suddenly you can find a job because of it. Have you heard this say, less is more? Well, that's the way you want to take yourself too, as you're learning programming. So if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, because less is more, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.